We want to get into heavy machinery. We haven't talked about this publicly yet, but I guess there's a first time for everything.
Get yourself a bulldozer.
Exactly. Like we've been looking at like twin engined water trucks from World War II that are just these like big, awesome looking machines that haven't been run in like 50 years or whatever. And we're just like super into that right now. So that's what we've been looking at, like giant weird excavators, giant weird like logging machines and stuff. And we're like, man, if we just had like a big piece of property and we could turn it into kind of like a grind hard dreamland.
Yeah, just like a compound.
Like, yeah, it'd be so cool.
I think that's what every automotive YouTuber is kind of looking for, is just a big place to have fun with their cars and stuff. Maybe not necessarily all of them, but it definitely seems to be a trend with a lot of them. You got to have space for all of these cars, somewhere to put them. It's just not as easy as putting them outside and letting them sit, especially when you're pouring a ton of money and time into them. You don't want them to get ruined just sitting out there and kind of rotting away. And to be an automotive YouTuber, you kind of got to stay on top of doing something cool and unique, so that you just kind of naturally pile on more and more projects. Stuff starts sitting around. You start getting parts laying around, so you need to find storage for that. And it builds up really quick if you want to, try to keep up with being one of the most followed automotive channels out there. So
yeah, and I think too, like, creative people are just really attracted to blank canvases. Like, I know that I am for sure. Like, and if I see like this abandoned lot with like a couple abandoned trucks on it, I'm like, that is the ultimate blank canvas. Like, you have a few restrictions on like size and like maybe a little bit of zoning, but for the most part, you could do whatever you want and tell whatever story you want there, make whatever movie you want there. And that's like really, really attractive to me. And I think a lot of people that are kind of like at our level, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, who just wouldn't want to have a property to go have fun and rip toys around? So hopefully we can find something in the near future. But for right now, this is our spot. And I told myself, even when we kind of first moved into this place, if this is all I'm ever able to achieve, I'm pretty content with it at the same time. Like,
it's pretty amazing.
I realistically have everything I need here. We got a good sized shop. Probably people watching my videos, they're like, dude, you have the dream set up. And I am aware of, where I'm at, and I'm fortunate to be here. And I do love this property. So if all else fails, I at least have this, and I'm happy that I at least, made it this far. But if we have the chance to push it even further and try to grow bigger and better, then I'm going to at least go for that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the best way of thinking of it, I think.
Yeah.
Like, and kind of slowly growth over time. It's like less stressful too.
Yeah, definitely. That's another thing that I've always been worried about, is because a lot of these properties are so expensive, and I'm worried about just, it is an all-in thing at that point if you want to go in on that. And
like,
it could get stressful.
I bet Garrett lost some years of his life in stress when he bought the Freedom Factory. I mean, you're a lot closer with him than me, but like, I imagine buying that, getting in that much debt, and then the pandemic kind of shutting live events down, like that must have just been like hell for him.
Yeah, especially at that time. I know he makes it public knowledge that was the most stressful time of his life, I believe, was getting that place. And, he didn't even have enough to pay his employees. He had to wait for, his YouTube check to come in just to make payroll. So it was a stressful time for him, but obviously it paid off. And, his operation he has going on is just amazing. And it's like the ultimate car guy heaven, just a place you can have all your friends come out and just have a good time. And it's just awesome. So definitely look up to that guy.
Yeah. Is that part of the reason why you moved here to Florida? 'Cause you started everything in Colorado. You had your own garage, like things were going really well.
Yeah. The main reason was just the year round, good weather, I guess you could say. 'Cause we had the one drag strip in Colorado. It was closed 6 months out of the year, and a majority of our content is, building drag cars and racing them. So it was really hard to find ways to make content during winter, because we were just kind of cooped up in the shop building and pushing cars in and out through snow and mud. It got old, and every time we came out to Florida, we always had a good time. Our content always did really good out here. There's so many other automotive YouTubers out here, so I just kind of saw the opportunity in coming out here. And at the time, Florida properties were way cheaper than Colorado, because Colorado has just been going up in population and everything out there got expensive. So Even though we had the shop and stuff, we could have definitely stayed out there and expanded on that, but Florida was just calling my name. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you seem happy here. The place is beautiful. What you've built since you've been here and the kind of projects you're working on since you've been here have been fantastic to see. And last night you were telling me about something that happens here that I've never heard about that I would like to kind of get into further on the podcast. But you said that there's an event where you have a small trailer and you drive the car to the next drag strip with the car that you are drag racing.
Yeah. They're just called drag and drive events. And that's what we're building this one right here to do. And you just kind of want me to run down how they operate?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I didn't know about it before. I'm far separated from the drag racing world. So it's like a wonderful story to me. And it sounds like a wonderful time.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So basically, the main one we do is called Sick Week, which is like you're taking a sick week off of work to go do race car stuff with your friends. And you start with your car that you are drag racing down the drag strip, and you are allowed to take one other person with you to help you work on that car. And all of your supplies, parts, if anything breaks or you need anything at the track, you're allowed to put as much stuff as you can into a small trailer that you tow behind that drag car. So you start at a drag strip, and the one here in Florida, they do them all over the country, but we are obviously doing the ones here in Florida a lot. You start at a drag strip. You drag strip stay in maybe Bradenton, and then you go up to Orlando, up to Gainesville, all the way to like South Georgia Motorsports Park. Each of these areas have their own drag racing strip. You drive your actual drag car that you're racing down the track in on the street. You know, you'll swap your slicks off the car for street tires to go drive the car, because if you drive on the race car tires down the road and you hit rain, it's unsafe. So you bring an extra set of tires, you drive track to track, you have to kind of plan your routes out. A lot of these cars are on race fuel or like E85, so they have to plan their routes accordingly to make sure they can pick up some gas on the way.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
You know, everyone's setup is different, so everyone has their own set of challenges they have to face, and then there's classes for everybody. So if there's like a stick shift car, there's a stick shift class for them, and depending on how modified your car is, it will fit into a certain class to try to make it as fair as possible for you to win your category. And yeah, it's like, you know, usually around 1,000 or more miles round trip, and you're just in a full blown tube chassis, like drag car. Some of these guys are driving basically pro mods on the street, which is like one of the fastest, you know, I don't know. They're creating like 5-second cars in the quarter mile attempting to drive down the road. So
really,
it's just a cool thing. And then they're passing through small towns, and we'll see people lined up down the street waving at us because all the routes are posted online. It's just really cool. Just a whole bunch of car guys getting together, traveling together, going racetrack to racetrack, and they have usually 300 to 350 cars signed up every time, and they do a couple a year, at least just here in Florida alone.
So the fans on the street, do they have like lemonade stands, like try to get you to stop and say hi? Or
yeah, they'll have signs, and they'll be cheering people on. They'll have people waiting on the side of the road with like waters and, you know, just stuff. And they have a whole bunch of checkpoints along the way too. So that's something else I didn't mention to you. So a way for them to confirm that you're following the correct route, because they also don't just put you on the quickest way to get there. They kind of take you on some back roads, things like that. They make you stop at certain checkpoints, and you have to take a picture of your car with the certain background. So you'll stop at a certain restaurant or a certain landmark, and you have to take this picture at that point so they know you're actually following the real route and not just going off some other direction.
This sounds so much fun. Is it a thing all over? Is it a Florida thing specifically?
As far as I know, there are other drag and drive events out there. There used to be one in Colorado called Rocky Mountain Race Week, but Colorado's main track went down, and it was like the center of where it all started.
Oh.
So unfortunately, that probably won't happen, which really sucks, because that one was probably the coolest one, because you're traveling through the mountains in drag cars, pulling trailers and stuff. So it's like, you know,
you racing, or like what are you rated on for the travel in between tracks?
That's just up to you. It's just like you have it. They usually do they'll do like a drag day, and then I think some of the race weeks you would be able to drag race one day, and then you have a full day to get to the next destination, and then drag day, drive day, drag day, drive day. But most of the ones here in Florida, since the tracks are a little closer together, it's just you drag race in the morning, And by the afternoon, you pack up all your stuff and you have until the next morning to get to the next track.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because this one isn't as many miles here in Florida. The Rocky Mountain Race Week was like 1,400 round trip. So they gave you a little more time, because that went from like, imagine Denver, Colorado area. And one of the tracks was like way out in Kansas. So like you're, going state to state.
Wow.
Like
in a car that's not necessarily designed for long distance.
Yeah, no, they're not made for it. So a lot of these cars, they have to put radiators on them and stuff to make them, able to make the journey. And then there's a lot of people that don't have as serious of cars. You can also have a slower car that doesn't even have a roll cage, and you can kind of dial your own time in. And there's a class for everybody, but it is really cool.
Yeah.